Khayalihle Khumalo is at OR Tambo. Khaya, thank you for being with us. We came in at the end, so just remind us what the Tourism Minister was saying overall regarding, no doubt, concerns now about safety of tourists.
Well, very much so, Francis. Quite a very critical message from the point of view of Minister Sisulu, reassuring the tourists who are coming to South Africa that the safety is of paramount importance. But apart from that, talking about South Africa's track record, that since the dawn of democracy, there are only 3 fatalities where it's been confirmed where tourists had been killed in South Africa. But also speaking about now the measures that they are looking at in terms of beefing up security around the Lindiwe Gate at Kruger National Park, especially because this is an area that has always been known as a concerning spot for some time, where at some point the Deputy Minister of Police went there for some time ago prior to this incident. And of course, most importantly now, now the family has left South Africa, but also there has been a concern because there was a revelation of the deceased. His name was splashed out there, so the family was quite concerned, especially this is a huge international story, how it's been reported, of course, in Germany as well, but also emphasizing that South Africa will continue to work around the clock in terms of prioritizing the issue of safety for the tourists in the country.
Khaya, if there have been 11 cases that's been confirmed by the police minister, and the tourism minister herself conceded there that Lindiwe Gate should have been looked at earlier, this has been a problem. We could be asking, why did we have to wait for somebody to die? Was she pushed on what activity there has been to keep people safe on that road or around that gate?
Well, absolutely, Francis. So the DG of the Tourism Department, in fact, just a short while ago, was trying to respond to that question in light of the litany of concerns that have been raised by a number of people, in so many cases recorded in this particular area. So the minister spoke about, obviously, a number of measures now that they are adopting to try and avoid more incidents in this regard. But also, apart from that, what is very important in this regard, Francis, we really got some very gory details, in fact, very comprehensive details, those last moments, and also prior to the incident itself, how the family was accosted by these heavily armed men. And thankfully, what really saved the tourists, because their possessions were not taken away, was the very fact that the deceased, in light of his very last moments, but he had his foot on the accelerator, and that was on the reverse gear. So that's how the vehicle was able to move. And subsequent to that, the community members came out, and that's how the suspects in this regard were able to flee. So it is a major concern for the department, especially, Francis. We do know that we're going to the summertime, so a lot of people really do see, I mean, the ambassador was talking about the fact that Germany, in fact, in terms of the tourism contribution, they're the 3rd largest contributor in South Africa. And in fact, Minister Sisulu herself speaking about the very significance of tourism, saying it's contributing about 3.7% to the country's GDP. So it's vitally important to make sure that the issue of safety is guaranteed at all times. But of course, one may really say that there is a bit of a very reactive approach here, because for the longest time, that gate has always been flagged as an area of concern. So where were the police? Where were the security personnel when the tourists were accosted? So these are some of the questions that, of course, will continue to be, just asked to the Minister, Francis. But apart from that, we do understand that the body of the deceased will be flown back to Germany tomorrow.
Khaya, thank you for telling us about the interactions between the minister and the family members. We certainly missed that part on the show. So can you tell us more? You said the family has been concerned that his name was released initially. Reportedly, this was quite an elderly man. Do we have any details on who he was, what he did, his family situation? And have the other family members, the other tourists, tourists now left South Africa?
Well, absolutely, Francis, especially in this regard. I think the very area of concern for the family will be the children. Of course, they are in Germany, but of course, this story has just been circulating on social media, in some of the international networks as well. Once again, raising the issue of crime. So the children, that's the very area of concern for the family, because they got to know that their father was involved in this particular incident. In fact, the minister also spoke about the demeanor of the wife's deceased, saying that she came across as a very brave lady in light of this very heinous crime. She was still cooperating with the law enforcement agencies, and she was still talking about how they really had a good time in South Africa, because in terms of the very comprehensive details that we have been able to ascertain, now we do understand that the family started in Cape Town and then they went to the Drakensberg, and of course the Kruger National Park was the final leg of their tour. But also, Francis, a very concerning situation for the tourism sector. In fact, I was seeing somewhere where they do say that, in fact, a killing of a tourist should amount to an economic crime, just like a copper theft, because we do know of a very significant contribution of tourism in the country, especially when you go back to that lodge by Kruger National Park in terms of the job creation, where so many youngsters are employed by the lodge. So a very concerning issue, but also a very important point, Francis, from the minister. She was at pains to say that we haven't seen any pull out in terms of the tourists who were coming to South Africa for the summer holidays. So quite a lot of people still do believe that South Africa is a fine destination. But something that is important was that the issue of safety is very important. So they will continue to have collaborative efforts with the police department and many other sectors to make sure that the safety of tourists is guaranteed at all times.
All right, thank you very much. From our international desk, senior reporter Khayalihle Khumalo.